Hey guys, it's Nathan from the Kentucky Cycling YouTube channel. We are canal side in Buffalo, New York, where we are getting ready to ride not one, but two major sections of the Empire State Trail. The Empire State Trail is the overarching vision of connected pathways throughout the state of New York, going from Buffalo over to Albany, from Canada all the way down to New York City. There are three major sections of that system, and we are going to ride two of the three. We are going to start out on what is on many riders' bucket list, which is the Erie Canalway Trail. The Erie Canalway Trail goes about 360 miles from Buffalo in the west all the way over to Albany in the east over on the Hudson River. And then we're going to continue on the Hudson Valley Greenway Trail system all the way from Albany down into Manhattan. Paralleling both of these trails is the Amtrak system, so it serves as the logical way to kind of get back to the start. So at the end of this, we'll get on an Amtrak, or should we have problems, what's really nice to know is that there's Amtrak stops all along the way, so potentially we could come back to Buffalo and get back to our car that way. We drove up from Kentucky yesterday and arrived in Buffalo last night. Here we are canal side, just off of Lake Erie and the Niagara River, and just a little north of here is Niagara Falls, which is, as many of you probably know, in terms of volume and water mass, is the largest waterfall in North America, and it's really a system of falls. That was just amazing, so we couldn't come this close to not go check that out. So we drove up last night, hit Niagara Falls State Park here in New York before we hit our hotel for the evening. So definitely the longest journey of our lives, but we're going to take about 10 days of riding to do it. We'll do 6 days here on the Erie Canalway, and then take a rest day before we continue on onto the Hudson Valley Greenway. This video will focus on the Erie Canalway Trail. This is definitely a bucket list ride for me. Can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to it. We're going to set off now and head east towards Albany on the Erie Canalway Trail. See the canal boat, man?
While the Erie Canal Trail is mostly off-road with a mix of paved and crushed limestone surfaces, there are a number of small gaps along the way where the trail is following along the road, typically with a decent-sized shoulder. Moreover, it's important to note that it is not a dedicated trail in and of itself, but rather a trail system, which is in turn part of the larger Empire Trail system. As such, the trail you are riding on at any given time may bear the signage of a smaller local trail, the Erie Canal Trail, the Empire State Trail, or the name of a road that is following. As such, this trail falls in between the logistical simplicity of navigating a dedicated rail trail with resources marked by mile markers and that of navigating an established ride touring route. As such, we recommend that you plan out your journey and utilize either a bike computer or your phone for navigation purposes.
Guys, we are at our first rest stop. We've come from Buffalo up this trail, and we are in Tonawanda, and we've been following along the Niagara River, the Tonawanda branch of the Niagara River. This is a little river here, and this forms the Tonawanda Harbor, and we are at the beginning of the Erie Canal, which, this is just so gorgeous, which was the major easiest way to navigate from the Great Lakes to the Atlantic. So really, really cool.
We stopped off in Lockport for lunch. After lunch, we took a little time to visit the Erie Canal Discovery Center, the first of 2 canal museums we'd visit. While the museum is relatively small, the knowledgeable staff and exhibits really help to frame the historical context of the trail. The movie alone made the museum worthwhile, so be sure not to miss it. If you've had the pleasure of riding along the C&O Canal towpath, you'll be familiar with the kinds of locks that can be found on the old canal. There were originally 83 of these. Each lock was small, built of stone, operated manually, and typically raised or lowered boats by 8 to 12 feet. The enlarged canal, which you might hear locals refer to as the Barge Canal, has been in use since 1918. The current canal has 35 locks along its length from the Niagara River at Tonawanda to the Hudson River at Waterford. Built of concrete and mechanized, each lock is massive, 300 feet long by 45 feet wide, with lifts up to 40 plus feet. It's important to note that the Canalway Trail follows along sections of both the old and the modern canal routes, depending on the section. We spent our first night on the trail at Red Rock Ponds RV Resort, which is located just off the trail in Holley, New York. This is a very well-maintained place with a small but very nicely appointed tent area, which is only open to those cycling the Canalway, so there's a good chance you'll get to meet other cyclists during your stay. The tent sites are close to the shower house, have a picnic table, fire ring, and include both electric, water, and Wi-Fi.
Just only about 4 miles into our ride, and we're coming up on the little town of Holley, and I just noticed when we're planning the trip that there's a Holley Canal Falls, so we're going to cross the bridge here and go take a look at the falls.
About 10 miles into our ride, we stopped off in the charming town of Brockport at the Brockport Diner for what would be our favorite breakfast stop of the trip. The food, service, and atmosphere were all top-notch. Our favorite breakfast of the trip would be followed by our favorite lunch stop. We left the impressive, dedicated cycling infrastructure of the trail and sidewalk surfed our way up Mount Hope Avenue to Sultan Cuisine and Bakery Restaurant for some truly awesome Mediterranean food. Rochester is also a great place to pick up or replace any supplies or equipment, as there is an REI that literally backs up to the trail. Many, but not all of the locks along the canal allow tent camping to those cycling the canalway. To check and see whether or not a particular lock allows you to camp, we suggest consulting the bikeeriecanal.com website. Camping is free, but they do suggest to call and let the lockmaster know you are coming. The lockmaster will in turn tell you where it's okay to set up a tent. Most locks have a porta-john and some locks have picnic tables, but not much else. It should be noted that unlike many other trails, free potable drinking water is not readily available along the canal, whether it be at locks or trailheads. For this reason, we recommend carrying lots of extra water with you and take advantage to refill your bottles as opportunities become available. We camped at Lock 28B in the village of Newark. It was really cool to spend a night right next to the canal like this. We also discovered that there was a blue heron, one of many that we saw along the canal, who regularly fishes the lock, which is really cool to see. Nice view. We've been climbing for a bit, real gradual, but man, this is a nice little payoff up here. Zuma Heritage Park. Nice. Back on the trail. Coming into Weedsport. This is cool. So they've got a garden in the village of Jordan down on the old canal. That's really neat.
Liz and Dave Beebe, Erie Canal Park. So the juxtaposition here is pretty stark. 6.1 miles into downtown. We're just coming out of what's been very nature scenic. And boom, I think we're heading towards the New York State Fairgrounds. So we've just left the State Fairgrounds and we're looking towards downtown Syracuse there, or Onondaga Lake. Really cool to be up high like this before we descend into downtown. We are waking up in Syracuse, New York. I wanted to stop here and basically just tell you that we bit off collectively a little more than we could chew. My buddy Ben, who's my riding partner for this trip, didn't get to get as much time in the saddle in terms of prep time as I did ahead of the ride, and so I had him riding 70 miles and then done a couple of 60-mile days, and by the end, or about halfway through the third day, he was just really hurting. So we decided to take a rest day here in Syracuse and recast the rest of our ride. We just don't have enough time available to us. We will not make it all the way to Manhattan, but we are going to finish the rest of the Erie Canal, and we're just going to do it a little slower so that we can enjoy it. Honestly, we were just moving at a slower rate and kind of chasing the sun each night with the mileage that I had set out. So we are going to take the remaining 3 days that we had scheduled and going to spread that out over 4 days instead. So instead of averaging about 60 miles per day, we're now going to average about 45 or 50 miles a day. We'll have some, today will be 50, tomorrow will be 40, that kind of thing. So we had a lovely time in Syracuse. If you're going to take a rest day, I would highly recommend Syracuse as a spot. Lots of international cuisine to be had. People are nice. I mean, I just really enjoyed our time here. Architecture is very interesting. The lake is beautiful. Bike shop people, if you need to go to the bike shop, there's a great, we went super nice folks there. Just really positive, very positive experience here in Syracuse. It also allowed us time to go to the Erie Canal Museum, which is actually right behind us here, right across from the Airbnb where we stayed, which was really cool. So Sterling enjoyed getting to go through and see all the history. There's a great map in there, which basically shows you not only what the old canalway was, but currently what the current canalway is. And so you can kind of see via a map where you're riding along old sections of the canal versus the current sections of the canal. And as we start out this morning, we're going to be riding along Water Street, which is going right through downtown Syracuse, and this is really where the old canal was, now all replaced by modern public street. So looking forward to these next 180 or so miles as we make our way from Syracuse into Albany, New York over the next 4 days. Really looking forward to it. Mile out of town, we've got a dedicated lane. So we're 4.5 miles outside of downtown and getting away from the heavier traffic, so this is nice. 6 miles out of downtown Syracuse, and we're back to super scenic. Really pretty through here. 9 miles in and our first taste of gravel.
I want to give a shout out to another cycling duo we met at 3 different points during our ride. We first met Sarah and Jace at the Red Rocks RV Resort. Then we saw them again when we camped at the Lock in Newark. And we got to see them a 3rd time right before leaving the trail for our lunch stop in Canastota. Anytime someone asks me for my last name, I say it's Rome, R-O-M-E, like the city. So the novelty of rolling into Rome, New York by bicycle was not lost on me, and Ben was kind enough to snap a few pictures of me with signs along the way.
The Erie Canal is sharing space with the Mohawk River here. Nicer campsite here.
Another novelty of the trip was that we rode through the village of Frankfort, New York, which would be our lunch stop for the day. Ben and I both grew up in Frankfort, Kentucky, so it was fun to ride through another small river town that also took its name from another Frank's Ford that would get shortened to the name Frankfort.
Into Frankfort. Trail resumed.
Overall, we got really lucky with the weather of this trip. A secondary consideration in our decision to shorten our daily distance for the second half of the route was driven by the forecast. With rain coming in the latter half of the week, riding shorter distances each day allowed us to choose our riding window in a way that would optimize our chances of staying dry. This worked beautifully on day 5 as we were able to finish our ride before the rain came in the evening of our stay in Little Falls. The forecast also prompted us to forego some additional camping we had planned, which afforded us the opportunity to send some of Ben's camping gear home and lighten his load for the remainder of the ride. And I have to admit that I didn't mind that extra night's sleep in a bed. Since this route takes you past so many locks, there's a decent chance your timing will work to watch the process of a boat moving through a lock. This opportunity happened for us at Lock 15, where there was a very friendly lockmaster who took time to explain the process to us. This is an 8-foot lock, so the whole process only took about 10 minutes, so it was well worth the time. While I'm sure this will not come as any shock to any New Yorkers watching this video, we were delighted to find out just how good the Italian food is in upstate New York. Our last 2 dinner stops were especially noteworthy, with incredible pasta at both Gigi's Italian Feast in Little Falls and Lorenzo's Southside in Amsterdam. Honestly, the food was incredible. One thing that I love about bike touring is that it gives me time away from the demands of everyday life to appreciate and reflect. And this trip being the longest bike trip of my life so far, I had even more time to do that. So I thought I'd take the last part of this video to share some of those reflections with you in hopes that you might find them useful and hopefully prompt you to get outside for your next adventure, however small. Even though this trip didn't go as originally planned, it turned out to be exactly the trip that it needed to be. So stay flexible and make adjustments as needed. It's all part of the adventure. One of the things I love about going through the act of sleeping in a tent or going without a shower is that it always renews my appreciation for the simple things. And beds and showers are nice. Never underestimate the power of a good rest day. Rather than throw in the towel, take some time to rest, reset, and figure out the best way to keep going. Sometimes it's better to just carve out the time and go rather than waiting until you feel like you've trained enough. It was amazing to me to see how much stronger Ben was riding at the end of our tour than when we first started. As Paul Suchecki is fond of saying in a lot of his bike touring videos, if you want to keep moving, you gotta keep moving. No matter how out of shape you were when you start your tour, you'll be in a lot better shape when you finish. The Erie Canalway Trail is almost twice as long as the C&O Canal Trail and even longer than the Gap and the C&O combined, so be prepared for a grand adventure. The people of upstate New York are both warm and welcoming. There's lots of great food along this route, and even small towns in upstate New York can have some really awesome Italian food. There's something really therapeutic about a good waterfall. Never underestimate the value of old friends, especially those willing to accompany you on an adventure like this one. There's something really powerful about accompaniment and having deep conversations while turning pedals. Focus first on connecting with people and let exercise be a byproduct of that activity. Don't be afraid to slow down, stop, and allow yourself to be in awe of a place. Traveling by bicycle allows you to move at an optimal speed for really experiencing the beauty of a place. In closing, I'll leave you with one of my favorite quotes from Ernest Hemingway, which reads, "It is by riding a bicycle that you learn the contours of a country best, since you have to sweat up the hills and coast down them." Now get out there and ride your bike.